Hey, and welcome to another episode of Just Another Effing Podcast. I am your host. I am one half of the greatest tag team in podcast wrestling history. I'm the JFB, James from Boston.
And you might know me as the patron saint of professional wrestling. You might know me even as the enlightened one. I'm Canada Dry, damn it.
He goes nice and slow when you crack
I
open
gotta
a can.
change the flow sometimes.
So we are on episode 34, if you can believe it. 34 episodes. But before we get into the whole rigmarole, I want to give a shout out to all our friends and family and fans on YouTube. We had a big bump for effing wrestling in the effing wrestling universe and our YouTube channel. So for all of those who are brand new to effing wrestling on YouTube, welcome. You have open embracing arms from the JFB. Thank you.
And
for
if you watched
coming
because
on.
of the Natalia Markova match,
Yeah.
and you're now subscribing to our channel, we are big friends of Natalia Markova, and she's going to be on the show again very soon. So, with that being said, let's get on with the news, baby.
Let's get on with the news. Da, 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 da. All right. So Ted DiBiase Sr. and Ted DiBiase Jr. Are ordered by a court to pay back millions of dollars
and millions of the
millions. He's got to give back the $1 million belt for committing fraud for charity through his church or his religious organization or whatever he's running. Ted DiBiase committed a fraud and has to pay back millions of dollars, including the $1 million championship to the state of Mississippi.
So, like, is this part of his religious thing that he's got going on?
Yeah. I mean, don't color me surprised. But, you know, super churches and super uber religious people tend to commit more fraud than anybody else.
The thing is, wherever there's temptation, there's going to be and he's a former wrestler, so there's always some shadiness going on with that as well.
Oh, Ted DiBiase. So the sources,
man, why do you need to be doing this? I guess
I don't know. He's got $1 million belt encrusted with diamonds. What does he need money?
I don't think that belongs to him, though.
I don't even think he has a decoy copy of it from the WWE. Sources say that the WWE, this is coming from the dirt sheet, so take it with a grain of salt. From our this guy named Zanin. Sources say that WWE had issues with Bray, stating that his weight and difficulty working with him is what led him to being cut. I'm really
as
surprised.
Well as financial issues.
Yeah, I'm really surprised because he really was in pretty decent shape.
He was in the best shape of his life.
Yeah,
he had really chiseled himself down from the overweight Bray to a pretty good. And you know what it is they were fucking around with his character so much.
Yeah.
That I can understand that part of it, that you know, like, he just wanted to have some say, and they had some goofy things going on with him and Alexa.
Yeah. I mean, he psychologically is probably one of the best creative wrestlers that's happening right now. And he wants to have that kind of say and input into how his character is used. And obviously, you know, with WWE, the buck stops with Vince. If you can't convince Vince is not going to let it happen. That's just the way it works, you know. And now with Bruce Pritchard being his right-hand man, I'm sure, you know, he probably was not happy and would fight them tooth and nail for creative direction of his character.
They're trying to recreate the magic of the 80s with the two creating them, you know. But I don't think it's going to work. Their time has passed.
They are completely out of touch with the current wrestling product. So this weekend, FTR are the new AAA tag team champions. So does that mean we're going to see FTR in AAA?
Oh, it has to. It has to. And this is a good push for FTR in AEW as well, because it's been a while since they held belts.
Yeah. I mean,
and AEW has this way of using other championships to elevate their stars.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the AAA Tag Team Championship is a pretty awesome championship to have. They're good looking belts, but
they're nicer than the World Championship there.
The World Championship belt is ugly as sin.
But those tag team belts are nice looking.
Oh, they're beautiful.
And what was the frog gimmick? I think that was a play on the Ninja Turtle thing that they did in WWE a few years ago.
Oh, yeah. It's really funny because, we're in a couple of prediction leagues, and one of the prediction leagues that I'm in asked, who we thought was going to be, El Diablo's, their secret tag team.
You know what? I was originally going to pick FTR, but then what's his name?
Andrade. Yeah,
Andrade messed with my head, saying it's not who you think it is.
Yeah,
then it ended up screwing me over.
I know. I had Dragon Lee and Dragolisto.
That's who I went with.
Yeah,
because I was like, oh, it can't be FTR, but
because they when the Lucha Brothers were defending the belt at the AAA pay-per-view, Dragon Lee and Dragolisto came out, and there was a face-off between the two. So I went with them. I thought it would be the more logical, but I was pleasantly surprised to see FTR.
But you know what I didn't like was freaking Tony Schiavone and whoever was doing commentating with him.
Yeah.
Revealing it before they took the masks off. Don't do that.
Yeah. I thought that was kind of
let the wrestlers tell the story. You don't need to tell us ahead of time.
Yeah, they don't.
I don't like that shit.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the surprise when they unmasked him and it was FTR. I was pleasantly surprised. I was like, holy crap, it's FTR. And then made me think, well, is Andrade now part of Pinnacle? And apparently that was answered directly from MJF as he asked him for dinero.
Let's see, Sasha Banks. I think you forgot to share on the Facebook page.
There's an issue with Facebook. I got an error.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, surprise! An issue with Facebook.
Sasha Banks still mum about her missing SummerSlam. I don't think we'll ever find out the truth until she leaves WWE. I think whatever the reason was, they're going to keep it as quiet as possible. But she had a big win on SmackDown. She beat Becky Lynch. So yeah, I mean, Sasha Banks is back. But I don't think we'll ever get. It's all for Gazy. I think we'll never get the truth why she missed SummerSlam.
And I think we know it's COVID related.
Yeah, she's very anti-vax. She does not believe in the vaccine.
Yeah, and I think that could have hurt her career long term in WWE.
Yeah. I mean, at some point, businesses are going to start requiring you to get vaccinated.
Well, I think she got the vaccine now. So,
oh, did she? Okay, because I know
they wouldn't let her on TV, or they wouldn't let her.
Yeah, because there's sports teams that, like the Brooklyn Nets, that are suspending players for not getting the vaccination. Same with NFL, the NHL.
Travis Harmonic, the Canucks, is got waived and. He's buried in the minors because of the COVID thing. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everybody's got it right, but for God's sakes, get the vaccine. It's just a shot. Your 5G reception gets better. Yeah, I've never had such good internet.
Yeah, I know. My phone works since I've gotten the booster. My phone.
You got the booster. How do you qualify for the booster?
Because I had cancer and I got the diabetes. So I fall into immune deficiency.
Wait a second. You're a cancer survivor too?
Yeah, I am.
You got two cancer survivors here.
Non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, baby.
I was like, yeah, we're like a badge of pride. Well, we beat it, so we both beat it, so that's fucking awesome.
Heck yeah.
I should stop swearing because that stops kids from watching the show.
Roman Reigns, congratulations, decided to go on a spewing of of information literally talked about CM Punk. The question was posed, would he like to wrestle CM Punk? And he said, no, CM Punk is not in shape. He didn't do well in UFC. He's getting older. He doesn't have the moveset that he used to. And then when it was asked about AEW, he said he called the fan base for AEW hardcore. While WWE is hardcore, but also for the casual fans, he called AEW the cool kids on the block for right now, and it's premature to get really excited because they don't have
competition. Apparently, he said,
"Yeah." So I mean,
and then he doubles back and says, "But competition is good."
Yeah, but competition is good. Yeah,
but,
exactly.
But they're not competition.
They're not competition.
What?
But competition is good.
So get better, AEW, because you're not there yet.
Yeah, you're not there yet. You're premature. It's all premature.
So what do you think about this last Friday for Rampage?
I mean, you asked me what I thought about the match, about everything.
Well, no, about the ratings, the war between the two.
Yeah. With Vince leaking out the Rampage results early. I mean, I get why Vince is doing what he's doing, because the fact is that AEW is competition,
Well, when you're doing stuff like that, that means your competition.
Yeah, I mean, AEW, while SmackDown was in its first hour, AEW had the buy-in matches for Dynamite, and the big one was Bryan Danielson versus Suzuki. And I mean, they had hundreds of thousands of views,
Yeah, it did. That match on YouTube did really well.
Yeah.
But all that, rigmarole for, I think SmackDown did 700,000 viewers.
Yeah.
Something like that. And AEW 500,000. Yep. I'm like, why are we doing it on the same night? I think it's a little premature for Rampage and SmackDown to be going head to head.
I agree. I mean, it's understood the reason why, and obviously, Vince made the last half hour commercial free or whatever. And
Tony Khan
came back and said, I can make a commercial free too. I have just as much money, if not more, than Vince McMahon in WWE. So, I mean, he's taking the fight to WWE, and Vince is responding, appropriately.
Well, yeah, a lot on Twitter are talking about Tony Khan. Well, these are most of the fanboys, because Vince doesn't come on Twitter and say these things. He just does them.
Yeah.
But Tony Khan is verbal and tells him what he's feeling, and good for him for standing up to Vince.
Yeah.
And I think that's the main difference is we'll actually get to a little bit of communication from Tony Khan, whereas we get nothing from Vince.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see what will go ahead and go on if and when WWE decides to sell to NBC or Disney or whoever. Is that going to be a focus for the new buyer and the new owner of WWE is going after AEW and trying to snuff them out? I mean, AEW is doing the right stuff. They're not the land of giants. That's WWE. They have legitimate talent and guys who are legitimate wrestlers, that are doing great. You look at the big wrestlers like Wardlow and Lance Archer, and, they're there for a reason.
Did you hear Disco Inferno's comments?
Oh, geez. What did Disco say?
So Disco said that AEW should fire the Dark Order, should fire who's it, the Wingmen and the Nightmare Family, and just hire ex-WWE guys and book them better than Vince McMahon.
Ladies and gentlemen,
I get what he's saying.
Yeah.
And he picked on Cesar Bonone for some reason. Like, that guy's a monster. Who could easily become a great face for the company if he can learn how to wrestle properly. But
I mean, Disco Inferno, for those who don't listen to Keeping It 100 with Conan, Disco is not the most popular guy on Twitter. I mean, his views are out there. I mean, I thought Jim Cornette was crazy. Disco Inferno beats him by like 1,000%. Well,
at least he's more pro AEW now than he was.
Oh yeah, he hated AEW in the beginning.
He's realizing the tides are turning, and he better go with the times.
I mean, you're a wrestling podcast, and I get it. You were in WCW. You had some time in WWE. But, as a wrestling podcast, you need to cover wrestling, and that includes AEW and WWE, Ring of Honor, and all those guys. I mean, that's a big part of being a wrestling podcast is, if we were going to just talk about AEW, we'd just call it just another effing AEW podcast. I mean, we talk about WWE because realistically, they're the biggest wrestling promotion, or at least wrestling entertainment promotion in the world. I mean, they got millions upon millions of fans. Crapping on WWE or crapping on AEW doesn't do anybody good.
We do crap on the WWE quite often on the show. So.
We do, yeah, but with justness though.
Yes,
we don't just crap on them for the sake of crapping on them.
Yeah. So, but if WWE were to do something well, we'd put our little mitts together.
Yeah, of course. So for those who are clamoring for a part 3 contest between Cody and Malachi Black, you're going to get it next week on Dynamite. Cody and Malachi Black 3. I'm curious why they're putting this on Dynamite and not saving it for Full Gear.
Well, that's the funny thing about Tony Khan is it's not that old wrestling formula where everything gets saved for the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
He's really changing what wrestling TV is. And, it feels like almost every second week's a freaking pay-per-view on TV.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, WWE, which is funny because WWE actually canceled TLC. Whether it's just poor ticket sales or it just didn't fit in the agenda, they're canceling the TLC.
When is the TLC?
I think it's in November. I think it's in November. I have to double check. I'm not sure, but
that's interesting. That's news. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, I just saw that a couple days ago. Let's give a congratulations, of course, to Bret the Hitman Hart. You see him on his shirt. He went and got his degree, bachelor's in physical education. I would kill to take a phys ed class with Bret the Hitman Hart. He would be the greatest gym teacher of them all.
It kind of makes me think of Owen when I saw that.
Yeah.
Because I think Owen wanted to be a gym teacher.
He did. Yeah. And a fireman and, but yeah, Bret Hart, congratulations. I know you're a big listener of the show as we tweet back and forth with each other. Congratulations on getting your bachelor's degree in physical education.
Let's not mix ideas here.
Yeah.
Bret Hart is not going to be someone's gym teacher.
No, he's not. No.
This is just purely to say he could get it. Right?
Yeah. But if I had a kid and I lived in Canada, by God, and if Bret Hart was to start teaching gym class, I send that kid to that school. Hell or high water.
I'm worried about him putting in kids who misbehave and a sharpshooter.
You didn't throw the ball right, Tommy. Get over here and put the sharpshooter on Tommy.
Are you talking while I'm talking?
Maybe they can award him Teacher of the Year, and he'll be like, "I was the best."
Maybe he'll do when he's bored. Maybe he'll do the substitute teacher thing. And
I'm just saying, he's got the degree. He might as well use it. All right, guys, that is the news. Let's get into the auditory orgasm, if you will. We are going to talk. Oh, yeah.
I still haven't cleaned out my ears from the last orgasm.
I gotta wear protection.
You wear a condom next time?
Yeah, I will wear protection the next time.
Oh, man.
So we decided this week we're gonna talk about our top 5 each most underrated wrestlers of all time. Okay?
Underrated, overlooked,
yes,
underutilized.
Underappreciated.
Yes, underappreciated.
As well.
Under is the main word.
Now, while we will always remember the wrestlers that got or didn't deserve the rub that they got initially from the bookers and the promotions, There are some that deserved at least a decent title run or a good storyline that didn't. This is our list. Now, of course, we have backstage, we always flip a coin. This week, we decided to flip a friend of the show, Tim Tobin. We flipped him in the air. He landed up heads. The JFB picked heads. By God, I won the coin flip toss.
He scuffed up his face a little bit by landing.
I gave him a little cut, but it was a good. It was a good flip.
We got him a Band-Aid, an effing Band-Aid. And
he got socially. Yeah, even though he's from Boston, we since we effing Worldwide Studios is international waters, if you will. He got subsidized health care, so he's going to be all right. He's going to be laid up with a concussion for a while, but he did flip up heads. The JFB. So I'm going to go first. My number 5 is Billy Kidman.
When I saw Billy Kidman on your list, I was pretty jealous. That
yes,
you picked first.
Any list, underdeserved, underappreciated, or underrated is not 100% complete without having Billy Kidman on the list. He did get a decent push in WCW. He even had
for a short time, though.
For a short time, he was the face of the New Bloods. He had 2 pay-per-view matches against Hulk Hogan, friend of the show, and he had a half-ass push. Is nowhere indicative of him as a workhorse. And the quality of the shows late in WCW were absolute shit. They were the drizzling shits. That's how bad. But every week,
like that new blood. I like that new blood gimmick, but they didn't stick with it.
No, they didn't. But he stole the show. Every week he stole the show. Then he, of course, WCW sold. They folded, sold to Vince. Vince bought them out. So any momentum that he had coming out of WCW was completely snuffed out. He was a SmackDown wrestler. He had some really good matches in 02 with Mysterio and Chavo. It just wasn't enough. He was just underutilized. And eventually faded away. He works some indie shows.
He works backstage, right, with WWE, or is he not anymore? Is he fired?
I don't think he's with WWE anymore. He was backstage producer for a while. The kid was smart. I mean, the kid knew how to fight. And it's. I
don't know if you remember that Macho Man promo.
I don't remember the Macho Man promo.
Well, Macho Man, he cut a promo that was very mysterious, and he was talking about one of the WCW stars that he could help them become bigger than they are. Yeah, and it was believed that it was Billy Kidman that he was talking about.
I don't blame him.
It was very non-coherent of the Macho Man as well.
Yeah, a lot of his promos late in the game were kind of, when you take chair shot after chair shot in the old noggin, there's a good chance your promos are gonna not make a lot of sense.
And because WCW didn't follow up on that, it was just like, why did he even cut that promo if they weren't gonna?
Yeah, exactly.
What was going on?
Eric Bischoff, baby. EB, Easy E. So who is your number 5?
So my number 5 is he's buff, he's the stuff, and the girls can't get enough.
Buff Bagwell.
I guess we might get him on the show here.
Yeah, he might be our guest next week. I'm playing phone tag with him right now as we speak.
You left a message on his, he left a message on yours.
Yep.
So hopefully we get Buff Bagwell on next week.
Yeah.
But Buff Bagwell, he just had that look. And even his mom on WCW of Judy Bagwell on a pole match. Not their greatest. Wasn't his mom tag team champions with who was she tag team champions with? Rick Steiner?
Yeah, I think so. Judy Bagwell, baby.
Yeah, Judy Bagwell. You talk about who's the guy who was the world champion, the Hollywood guy, slipping my mind.
Oh,
slipping your mind too. Anyways, So, but Judy Bagwell being tag champion, that's the worst booking ever.
Oh yeah, it's almost as bad as David Arquette.
That's who I'm talking about. I think it's worse than David Arquette.
Yeah, it's worse than David Arquette. I mean, not to go off topic, David Arquette, I mean, that guy legitimately is a huge pro wrestling fan. Giving him the belt and the rub, I mean, I get it. They were
Yeah,
promoting
but at
movies.
least he's capable of wrestling. Judy Bagwell is not capable of wrestling.
No,
But then again, the tag team belts aren't always treated properly in pro wrestling.
no,
Um,
it's very
but
overlooked.
getting back to Buff Bagwell, yeah, he had the look,
Oh yeah,
especially for when he went over to WWE and he had that match with Booker. I don't know if there was something. We might find out next week what really went on there.
yeah,
Where he had Stone Cold and Booker T both turn on him.
yeah,
And then he was fired after that.
yeah. I mean, I loved him when he was with Scotty Riggs before he joined NWO.
Wasn't he with Scott Norton?
Yeah, Scott Norton in NWO, another great,
Vicious and Delicious.
Yeah, underdeveloped, underappreciated tag team with Scott Norton when he joined NWO. But when he was with Scotty Riggs, this is just when he's
this is just before Vicious and Delicious.
Yeah, just when he was coming up in WCW, you really made a name for himself with Scotty Riggs. And of course, he turned on Scotty Riggs, and Scotty Riggs' career was never the same.
Well, I think he got in Raven's flock there, and then but wasn't really quite.
That's about it. Yeah, he had the patch on his eye.
But Buff Bagwell, even in WCW, he didn't quite reach the level. He should have been U.S. champion at very least.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not necessarily. It was hard to become a world champion there, but at least the U.S. champion, and he could have had a phenomenal run in WWE.
Oh yeah,
I think Vince would have known what to do with him.
Yeah, Vince loves the big muscular guys, and Buff Bagwell and Scott Steiner, and he had a run for them, and it just never panned out for Buff Bagwell, man. Yeah, Marcus Buff Bagwell, number 5. I'm gonna go with my number 4. It's interesting you mentioned Raven, because he is my number 4. There may never been a more intelligent or creative performer in and out of the ring than Raven. After gaining cult-like status and being literally gift wrapped from Paul Heyman in ECW to WCW, he should have had a huge deal in WCW, but as usual, they dropped the ball. He was failed to be developed as a major star. He left WCW, went back to ECW, and then within 3 to 4 months, signed with WWE. Here, without the assistance of creative, he further explored his character. He became the face of the hardcore division. Eventually, he wallowed away as an under talent, and was eventually released. There is not a guy. The closest I could say to Raven in terms of just creativity and their ability to work psychologically in the ring is going to be Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt is a modern day version of Raven, but when Raven was in ECW, that man was a god. I mean, he crucified Sandman for God.
So did you know that Raven had one leg bigger than the other?
Yeah, that's why he had a special shoe.
They did. They only mentioned that once on WCW.
Yeah,
they should have really played that up, though.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, he, like I said, I mean, he was literally gift wrapped from ECW to WCW, and WCW was like, and just dropped the ball. I mean, Raven's block was amazing.
That's how I know him.
Yeah.
They gave him his own flock. I think they did better than anyone else besides ECW.
Yeah.
But WWE, they huge dropped the ball. His run in WWE afterwards is like, I think Vince McMahon said, "Who signed Johnny Polo?"
Yeah. That was his character before he left for ECW, was Johnny Polo. And he came back as Raven, and he wanted to do this character that centered around the 7 deadly sins, and they kind of started it, and then they just got rid of it, And so, I mean, Raven was just underused outside of ECW. Nobody knew what to do with him, and what was great was, he was a creative writer as well for WCW and WWE. So not only did he work on his own character and storylines, he worked on other wrestlers as well. And still is one of the sought off, people search and want to learn at his feet, and
yeah, he got his ass kicked when he returned to WWE. Like, it was just a shitty run.
Oh yeah, it was horrible. It was an absolutely horrible run. So who is your numero 4?
Our number 4 is Adrian Adonis.
Yeah.
Friend of the show.
Yeah.
We want to work on some more t-shirts for him, but Adrian Adonis, what can you say? Great NWA talent, won world championships and tag championships and just every belt. A hell of a wrestler.
Yeah.
Even when he ballooned up, he could still wrestle like a son of a bitch.
Oh yeah. He had a motor. He had a huge motor. That's what drew me to him in his New Japan and AWA days, was he could get in a second and third gear, no problem. He had a motor. I mean, he really knew how to run around that ring.
But I think he got punished but they put him in that flower gimmick.
Yeah.
Punishment for gaining the weight.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but he ran with it and did it well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean,
and
he was just amazing.
I think well, a lot of guys didn't get that run properly in WWE at that time.
Yeah.
With getting the belt and whatever, but I think Adrian Adonis, had he not been in the car crash, going back to New Japan, he would have been huge.
Yep.
Going back to New Japan, he had a huge solid following in New Japan.
Yeah, I mean, I loved him with Jesse the Body Ventura. The East-West connection was a great tag team, and when they moved to WWE or WWF at the time, that they should have had that same momentum, and they didn't. They dropped the ball with both those guys.
Well, were they tag partners for a bit there? Before Jesse got injured.
Yeah, Jesse got hurt, and then eventually decided he wanted to just do commentator work, which is nothing wrong with that. But that East-West connection was just it was solid. It was a great tag team, and they had a lot of momentum going into WWE. And then WWE just kind of fumbled it at the goal.
Yeah, you could easily put the tag belts on them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they could have easily have been tag team champions and had a good run with it as well. So let's go to number 3. I'm going international, if you will. My number 3 is Ultimo Dragon. He was a multi-title holder in most every organization all over the world. Mexico, Japan, Europe, Timbuktu. He astounded the fan base worldwide, except he never won big gold in the States. In WCW, he was an exceptional mid-card talent that combined high-flying technical
prowess. Was he even cruiserweight champion at all?
He was not. He was a TV champion for them.
Well, at least he won that.
yeah, which I mean, that was a lower belt than the U.S. title belt. But I mean, he combined power with high flying and technical prowess. I mean, he was a great wrestler. A lot of the luchadors that we see today, guys like Rey Mysterio, Psychosis, Seco Play, and your luchas now all owe a debt of gratitude to Ultimo Dragon. He was an amazing wrestler. He did eventually come to WWE. He languished before he went back to Japan full time, where of course he won belts. So
what era was he WWE?
He was in late. He was in like 05, 07 time.
Yeah, I don't remember him at all. Like, it must have been such a short run.
Yeah, he had a very, very short run. Here he is. He was a CMLL middleweight champion, All Japan Pro Wrestling Junior Heavyweight Champion, New Japan Pro Wrestling IWGP Heavyweight Champion. He was the Cruiserweight Champion in WCW as well. So, yeah, Ultimo Dragon is my number 3. It's a shame because he could have had a great run while educating and really informing and teaching the young flyers how to wrestle.
That's what I liked about WCW. Is they did have the wrestling like that WWE didn't have, but they screwed up in not treating them as like stars.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you had that on the show, but it almost felt like filler because they'd be talking about the NWO and what they're doing in the middle of their match. You're like, this is a great match. Why aren't you talking about it? The guy's doing flips and that's what I like about AEW now is they don't. Every match on the card is important.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The problem with Vince is I don't think he really knew how to work with and deal with luchadors, and here's the thing. I mean, even in the 80s, there were luchadors that came into WWE, same with Japanese wrestlers. But, you're dealing with high flying and you're dealing with strong style, and it's not the way WWE runs and works their matches. So I think he just didn't know how to transition them. But, the other thing too is, back in the 80s, unless you had satellite, you didn't really see much wrestling outside of AWA, NWA, and of course WCW, and then, WWE, you weren't privy to the Japanese matches, not like today where you can get on YouTube and watch, FMV or FMW and watch an Onita match and understand the importance of Onita when it comes to hardcore wrestling. You don't have that back in the 80s or even the early 90s. So I think they kind of just brought them in, and that's what I loved about ECW. ECW knew what to do with luchadors. They gave them a showcase. Super Crazy, Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero was a high flyer at that time. He brought these luchadors in and gave them a shot at getting an American eyes on them and getting them to be named wrestlers. So, yeah, that was my number 3, Ultimo Dragon. Who is your number 3?
My number 3 is friend of the show, Adam Bomb. Chronic, Brian Adams, no, Brian Clark. Brian Clark. Sorry. And we mentioned this when he was on the show. I felt like he could have been top of the card. He just had the look, of a monster, and. You didn't really see him cutting a promo.
No, not really. There was no need to.
I think they had him with different managers and stuff like that. And, very least putting the Intercontinental belt on him. Yeah. And every time he seemed to get going, something would happen. And I think he even left WWE once and then came back. Mm-hmm. But Adam Bomb, Brian Clark, just was a hell of a wrestler, and he just had the look of a monster. Yeah. And I'm sure Vince McMahon regrets not using him properly.
Yeah, I mean he was a giant. I mean he was a big guy. He exactly is what Vince loved in his wrestlers. He was above 6'7", 6'8". He was just big. He was muscular. The Adam Bomb gimmick worked. It wasn't. He was the favorite son of 3 Mile Island. He had that look, and then of course, he left WWE, went to WCW, became Wraith, along with Chris Kanyon, who had played Mortis. And rejuvenated his career again. And then, of course, that whole Mortal Kombat gimmick got away. He joins with Bryan Adams. They joined together and formed Chronic. Again, another vicious, awesome, amazing tag team, totally underappreciated, goes to WWE, and they drop the ball, and it just sucked because they should have been long-term tag team champions. That's how good that those two guys were.
Yeah, if they would have booked them as monsters in WWE, instead of having them job out to Kane and Undertaker, it would have been great storytelling too.
I still want an Adam Bomb Nerf ball. I still want one. Brian, if you're watching, I'm telling you right now, I'm going to go on your store sooner than later in order.
Yeah, you said it was on eBay to get the.
eBay. Yeah, Adam Bomb Nerf football. I wanted one as a kid, and I want one now as a fully functioning adult.
Are you fully functioning?
About 90%.
90% functioning adult.
90% functioning adult. So my number 2, we're gonna get into my 2 favorite underappreciated wrestlers. My number 2 is, of course, the man of 1,000 holds, the Iceman, Dean Malenko. He was a second-generation wrestler. His dad was a wrestler. He was a man of 1,000 holds. He had ice in his veins. Dean Malenko was, and will go down in wrestling history books as one of the most underrated wrestlers of all time. Now, you guys had you had guys like Bret Hart who were technical savvy, and they used that technical prowess to become heavyweight champions and become face of the company. And at the top of the business, Malenko was left literally in the dust. While unlike others on this list, he had amazing success in WCW. Often worked. He was a workhorse. He had amazing matches with Mysterio, all the way to Jericho. These amazing
Jericho
matches.
run, probably his best run.
Oh yeah,
WCW.
Yeah.
That back and forth with Jericho, it made Jericho.
Oh yeah.
It pushed Jericho to the next level.
Yeah, because Jericho at that time was the man of 1,001 holds. He's one hold better than Dean Malenko.
And that whole list, the original list of Jericho was the holds.
Yeah. And armbar.
Yes.
Once he left the WWE with the Renegades, he kind of fell off the face of the earth. Whether it was his bad mic skills or he was too serious, he just never really connected with a lot of fans. Of course, he left in ring and went behind the scenes. He worked extensively in WWE and jumped ship when AEW came around. He is a producer in AEW. He suffers from Parkinson's disease. So if you listen to Jericho's podcast, he had him on a couple months ago, and it was really good, to knowing
that was a great show, by the way. That was a great episode
that was a great episode. You get in the more humane, you get in the human version of Dean Malenko, what he's going through currently right now. But I always loved him. He was a little too serious, but there was a reason why. That was his character. He wasn't born and bred to be a mic guy. He was born and bred to be in the ring and show off his technical prowess. That's my number 2. Who is your number 2, Canada Dry?
Canada Dry's number 2 pick is also from Canada.
Yeah.
Tyson Kidd.
Yeah. Tyson Kidd.
This guy, he had so much talent. He high flyer. Hold on a sec. Just let me. Sorry, Cat finally came in the house, and I had to shut the door before he left again.
Fruit Cat.
Fruit Cat, not on the show, but gets mentioned.
Yeah.
Tyson Kidd.
Yeah.
Wow. Like that guy, like even when he was losing, you could see he would sell everything really well. And I don't know, like he went back to NXT and then he got injured, career-ending injury against Samoa Joe. Yeah. And you wonder, because he won some NXT main events or whatever, but you don't know if WWE was going to use him right.
No, you didn't. I mean, the problem is he wasn't a big guy. And in Atlanta Giants and WWE, little guys didn't have, unless you're Rey Mysterio, you didn't have a lot of stroke, I mean, he's one of the last guys to wrestle that graduated from the dungeon with the Hart family dungeon. He's married to Natalia, so he's married into.
Well, they even had him as Natalia's manager, and they had him fighting, wearing the headphones. I was like, that's so dumb.
Yeah, I mean, I liked him. The New Hart Foundation, him, Natalia, Teddy Hart at that time was part of that as well. Davey Boy Smith
Jr. Was the Hart leg? What was it? The Hart Legacy? No, what was it called? Hart Dynasty.
The Hart Dynasty. Yeah,
the Hart Dynasty. They broke that up way too soon.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Had
You know,
they let that take its proper course.
Yeah, he had he had a decent run with Cesaro as tag champions. But yeah, I mean, TJ is, obviously, he had a career-ending injury. He works backstage. He's a producer for them. He's imparting his wisdom and his love of wrestling to the new generation. That's the good part. I mean, it sucks that, I'm hoping, with the neck injuries, it's either you can or you can't wrestle. I'm hoping that
his style is also a tough one to, like, even if the doctors cleared him, that's a rough style to wrestle.
Yeah.
For your neck.
Yeah, I'm hoping. I'm really hoping
bad
that
landing and you could be paralyzed.
Yeah, I'm hoping that the same doctors who worked on Edge and worked on Bryan Danielson can rejuvenate him at least for one more run. Whether it's in WWE or AEW, I would love to see him wrestle again. Just so I
think like he was trying to get cleared, but the WWE wouldn't give it.
Yeah, they wouldn't. They kiboshed it. They put the kibosh on it. It's a shame. I mean, TJ is a great wrestler, but he not only is he a huge fan of wrestling, he loves wrestling, and he's got a lot of knowledge. And instead of
trained with the best, so
yeah, and instead of stewing at his home and not
stewing, I think there's a few stew jokes with him in there.
He gets to share that love with a new crop, if you will, of wrestlers. And as NXT feeds into the WWE's main roster, you get the ability to watch guys like Braun Breaker, Rich Holland, are going to have the chance and opportunity to work with Tyson Kidd. And he's going to do nothing but elevate their status and elevate them to bigger heights than where they currently are right now.
So who's your number one?
My number one, who's better than Kanyon? Absolutely nobody. Chris Kanyon.
Wow. Well, let me just say before you get on about this, let me just say, when I saw your list, I was like, oh damn, he got the best of the bunch in Kanyon, and I had to pick someone else, but hell of a wrestler.
Oh yeah. I mean, imagine being light years ahead of your contemporary, so much so that your style is just becoming emulated today in 2021.
The innovator of offense.
Yes, the innovator of offense. That is who Kanyon was. He was an offense innovator. He never, there was never a move that he shied away from, nor a move that he wasn't afraid to create. That was what Kanyon was all about. Kanyon made simple moves look spectacular, amazing, and interesting. It's hard to believe that he was enhancement talent for years before donning the mask and becoming a Corpse Mortis. After that died off, he climbed the ranks, putting on amazing matches with and against DDP. Even after a heel push and eventually heading to WWE, never got that monster push. And what's sad is that in 2010, Kanyon committed suicide, and we were all left with what ifs and fantasy bookings than seeing him getting that rub. And it's a shame because, like Dynamite Kid, he was years ahead of where the business was. And that's really where the shame is, And if he was still alive today, I don't know if necessarily he'd still be wrestling, but I think he'd be part-time, but he would have been perfect in AEW.
Well, look at his legacy with the Young Bucks and Brian Cage. Like that speaks enough right there with those three.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they were friends of Canyon's, and they really took to heart what Kanyon was able to impart just for the small time. Brian Cage.
Did you see the picture of Brian Cage before he got all buff?
Oh my God!
Like, it looks like a kid next door that would come steal your pop bottles.
Yeah, you look like a 98-pound weakling. You look like a pencil neck geek. Freddie Blassie.
But now it's just, geez.
Yeah, it's a shame. To me, every match that Kanyon was in, I would stop what I was doing and watch, because that guy was just doing stuff that nobody was doing. And you're just seeing it now in 2021, people doing what Kanyon was doing 10, 15, 20 years ago. And that's what really sucks about
it.
And
it's a really shame that John Cena and Ric Flair tried to bury him.
Yeah.
But
if
that
you
was
watch
part of
the if you watch the Canyon episode of Dark
Yeah.
Side of the Ring, Cena tried to bury him on Howard Stern. Ric Flair buried him on Howard Stern, saying he wasn't a good wrestler. And when you say stuff like that, it affects a person. That's why you should always say nice stuff. You should not say bad stuff. Always say nice stuff.
If you can't build up, keep your mouth shut.
There you go. Damn it. But that's my number one, Chris Canyon. Because who's better than Canyon? Absolutely nobody. Who is your numero uno? I'm excited about this.
My numero uno is vacant.
Vacant?
He won more? No, just kidding. My numero uno is Wade Barrett.
The British Wade Barrett.
Just like he came in like a wrecking ball. Just so good with Nexus.
Yep.
And I feel like when he had all those chairs fall on him and CM Punk took over the Nexus, he wasn't able to recover that momentum for a long time, even though they gave him Intercontinental Championship runs.
Yeah.
And then he came up with the bad news gimmick.
Yeah. The bad news Barrett.
And they kiboshed it, even though the fans loved it.
Yeah.
He was so over as the bad news Barrett. Then they made him the king.
Yeah. Which didn't make sense.
Which is meant to, if you're the king, it's meant to raise you up.
Yeah.
But this brought him lower.
Yeah.
And at this point in WWE, the king, whoever became king, it sucked.
Yeah.
You don't want to win that championship or that crown because it's just your career goes.
Yep. Absolutely.
And then he got in the what were they called? The
International House of Wrestlers.
I don't remember what it was.
Rusev and Cesaro and Barrett and Sheamus. The International House of Wrestlers.
And Del Rio.
Yeah, Del Rio. Yeah. I'll say this, man. Wait, they dropped the ball on Nexus. They got rid of it when it was Supernova over. They had Supernova heat. They were completely over with the fans, and WWE is like, we're gonna move on.
They Edge and Jericho are on the record as saying that Cena should have lost that match.
Yeah, I agree.
And Cena wanted to go over, but even if they didn't go over, they could have pushed that further and had them get revenge on Cena again. Yeah. It didn't have to go all downhill from there.
Yeah.
But I loved Wade Barrett, and I think his career is over now. The brass, I think he's a knuckle box, like
bare knuckle boxer. Yeah.
Bare knuckle champion. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, he's had injuries in the past, and I think, I like him as a commentator. I don't like him as the forced heel commentator they're making him do on NXT 2.0. But I mean, realistically, can he have another run? I'd love to see him get in the ring again.
He did well in NWA as a commentator, didn't he?
Yeah, he did really good in NWA as a commentator. They're forcing him to be the bad guy, the bad evil commentator, which I'm not a fan of. Like I get heel commentators, but when it's forced, and you can tell by the way that Wade Barrett announces that it's being forced. It's not.
Well, sometimes you're good at some certain things like that, and sometimes you're not. I think Taz does a good job of that.
Taz does an amazing job. Taz does an amazing job. The way Barrett,
I didn't like Taz singing the Ruby Soho song. Ruby Soho.
Oh man, Taz! I love Taz. I miss his podcast tremendously. But yeah, I mean, the King of the Ring, friends of the show, Wrestling with the Truth, had a great idea about King of the Ring, where they said that if you win King of the Ring, you have to defend that title. But at the end of the year, at the end of the calendar year, or the end of the 365-day run for being King of the Ring, you can cash that in on a championship match, which I thought was brilliant. I was like, wow, that totally makes sense. I'd go with that.
I like the idea of it actually being a belt.
I like the idea of it being a belt too.
And I liked it being a belt, but the belt is only good for 1 year.
Yeah.
And the tournament happens again.
Yeah.
And they crown a new champion. Kind of like what we're doing with Mr. AFW in our AFW league.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I totally agree. I think, you have the belt and, you defend it. And at the end of
I do like that cash in for a world championship match eventually.
Yeah, I like the idea. If you still have the belt at the end of 365 days, you can cash it in and get a championship, opportunity. To me, that's what it's about.
I find that the Money in the Bank has become really, really stale. Just like when it first came out, great idea.
Yeah.
But it's just like, oh, really? That's still happening?
Yeah. Shout out to Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho created the Money in the Bank, cash in opportunities, which I thought was brilliant, even though he didn't win it. And you can hear that on our podcast.
That's what we're talking on right now.
Yeah, the one we're on right now. We talked about our favorite Money in the Bank, our favorite WrestleMania moments and Money in the Bank moments. But yeah, so yeah, Wade Barrett, great pick. That's an awesome number one pick. So we are at the end, my friends. We developed a top 10 list of all-time greatest underrated wrestlers. If you agree or disagree, comment in Twitter, comment on Facebook.
Let's just say that these aren't people that are remembered as well as others.
Yeah.
Like there's guys that are like Owen Hart, who is underrated, but he's still remembered.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these are guys are kind of, you're like, there was that guy from Nexus. What was his name? That's the guys we're talking about, But yeah, for all YouTube, for those who are not on YouTube, go to our YouTube page. Damn it. We have Wrestling with the Paranormal. We showcase indie wrestling. We have our podcast. There's the shirt. Damn it. Yep. You can buy a shirt for Wrestling with the Paranormal, our sister podcast. I mean, you have every opportunity to view and subscribe on our YouTube page. Go to our Twitter accounts. In fact, best thing to do is to go to fnwrestling.com and then scroll down to the very bottom of the homepage. We have all our links nice in a row with the pretty icons. You can click on them. You can subscribe. You can follow us.
So we got Wrestling with the Paranormal tonight.
Yeah. What's Wrestling with the Paranormal tonight?
We have Skinwalker Ranch.
Oh.
Tales from the Skinwalker Ranch Part 2.
Yeah.
So this topic is just so large. We can't fit it into one show. We may even have to do a third show eventually. But it's just such a crazy place. You got ghosts, you got aliens, you got Bigfoot, you got I guess skinwalkers, because this is Skinwalker Ranch. But
can't have a Skinwalker Ranch without skinwalkers.
You got portals with alien beings. It's a crazy place. It's
insane. I've read a lot about it. It is completely bonkers. So we should do our show. We should do our show live from there. And see what happens when we podcast live from Skinwalker.
Oh man, Fruit Cat would be floating around. We don't know what was going on.
All right, so next week we are going to try to have Buff Bagwell on. Marcus Buff Bagwell hopefully will be our guest. So until then, and speaking of which, though, before has Hulk Hogan gotten in touch with you, Canada Dry, since our last podcast?
Oddly enough, no. Like I thought for sure, since I was having such a sincere apology, that he would be right onto his computer typing up like, "Thank you, Canada Dry, for apologizing."
Yeah.
So you know what, Hulk Hogan, since you're not taking my apology, screw you, Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
So that's F and Wrestling. Was it 25 or 26?
I think it's 26.
F and Wrestling 26. Hulk Hogan 0. Canada Dry out.